In this video, I'll be sharing with you a requested tutorial from my group on how to cut this stylish Queen Anne neckline blazer blouse. Now to start, here is my pattern, and in front I marked a button allowance. For your button allowance, use 1 inch or 1.5. So I marked my shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waistline, and then the blouse length. For my blouse length, I added additional 7 inches. So this is not a standard. You can go ahead to use whatever blouse length of your choice. Now go ahead to mark your shoulder divided by 2 and add ½ inch to it. After marking that, I'll go ahead to mark a basic neckline of 3 inches here. Now I'll place my ruler and I'll come down by 1 inch from my shoulder. I'll place this ruler and I'll connect this to the neckline. The next step is to go ahead to find my chest line, which is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Now I'll place my ruler and I'm going to go ahead to draw a straight line. So after I'm done marking that, whatever I have on the shoulder, I'm going to go ahead to replace it on the chest line. Now I'll place my ruler and I'll connect a straight line at that point. I'll go ahead to divide my armhole into 2 equal parts. And after marking that, I'll come out by ½ inch. Now on the chest line, I'm going to go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4 at that point. After marking that, I'm going to go ahead to connect from the midpoint to the upper part of my pattern, and from that part all the way going down to the chest line. Now the next step you're going to take is to go ahead to mark a basic neckline. I'm just using this for a guide, right? Now we are still marking our Queen Anne neckline, so I'm just using this as a guide. Now after this, I'll go ahead to mark my dart. To mark your dart, mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5 inches. So I'm just going to place my tape and mark where I want the neckline of this dress to start, which is like 2 inches above my chest line. You can also place your tape from the shoulder and go ahead to measure. Now I ruled a straight line there, and I'm going to place my ruler to connect from the upper part where I have that 2 inches all the way down to the blouse length. So after I'm done marking, it's time to mark your dart. For my dart, I'm using 1 inch on both sides. Now if you're plus size, please go ahead to use 1.5 inches, or if you're a bit busty, go ahead to use 1.5 inches. And for mine, I'm using a straight dart. It is easier to work with a straight dart, especially for a beginner. And I'm going to connect this from the under bust to the waist to the blouse length. Now I'm going to place my ruler, connect from the bust to the under bust, and I'll also repeat this at the other side of my pattern, and I'll go ahead to connect. The next step is to insert your dart at the upper part. So now I'm going to just use 0.75 at both sides because I don't want to have much gaping at this neckline of the dress. And I'll go ahead to connect this, and I'll also connect this at the other side of my pattern, right? Now I'm going to go ahead to insert my body measurement. I'm going to start this measurement after my button allowance, which I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4, pick the dart at the chest line, replace and add my sewing allowance. I'll also mark my under bust circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace and add my sewing allowance. Now at the waist, I'll mark my waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, and I'll be replacing this by this side. Then go ahead to add my sewing allowance. Now before going ahead to mark my hip, I'll just go ahead to mark my neckline. From that 3 inches neckline, I'll connect it towards the dart area of this pattern. Now to tighten the yoke of the front, that is the sleeve area or shoulder, I went up by 0.5 inches, which I'll slant this all the way to the neckline of the dress. Now I'll go ahead to mark my hip circumference divided by 4 at the blouse length, measure the dart intake, replace and add my sewing allowance. Now I'll just go ahead to connect this down and connect this at the other side. So from here, I will now connect to the blouse length. After I'm done connecting, I'm going to go ahead to mark my bust dart. Now, to get your bust dart is the difference between your shoulder to waist in front and your shoulder to waist at the back. My shoulder to waist in front is 17, while my shoulder to waist at the back is 15 and a half. If you take out 15 and a half from 17, you will have 1.5. And from the neckline area, I'm coming down towards the chest line of my pattern. So this totally depends on how deep you want your front neckline to be. And I'll just make a dot to indicate that I have a button allowance at this point. Now I'll come down by 2.5 inches from this pattern, and I'll be slanting this going inwards. So whatever you're slanting should not be much. If not, the front part will be too open. So I added 1/2 inch extension to the blouse length, so making it 7.5 inches away from my waist, and from the side I came up by 2.5. So I'll just go ahead to connect to that 2.5 inches I have at the side of my pattern. So after this, I'm done drafting this out, and I'll go ahead to cut it out. If you have any question regarding this pattern drafting, please kindly go ahead to leave your question at the comment section. Now I'll just go ahead to cut out this pattern, and while cutting, I'll blend out your darts and then go ahead to cut out this upper part. Also, this dart that we use in tightening the sleeve area, go ahead to cut it out. So after I'm done cutting out for the front pattern of this dress, this is what I have. Now we'll move over to the back. Before drafting the back, I'm not okay with what I have here. I'll just cut it out a little. Now for the back, I've gone ahead to mark out all the basic measurements, the shoulder to bust, waistline, and I added just 5 inches. Remember, our full length of the blouse at the front is 7.5 inches after the waistline. Since we came up by 2.5 inches, it will leave us like 5 inches after the waist, so there was no need going down by 7.5 inches unless you want the back hemline of the dress to be long. So for the upper part, I went ahead to mark like my shoulder and my basic neckline of 3 by 1 inch. So now I'll go ahead to mark my dart, which I'll mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2. After marking that, I'll draw a straight line. Now I'll insert my dart intake, which I'll mark 1/2 inch on both sides, and I'll come down by 1 inch from the bust line. And after that, I'm going to place my ruler, connect on this side and also on the other side of my pattern going down. Now it's time to insert my measurements. Mark my bust circumference divided by 4, and I'll add my sewing allowance. This is more like a blazer dress, so you don't need much sewing allowance. 1 inch is okay. Mark your waist circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake and add your sewing allowance. Here, mark your hip circumference divided by 4 and add your sewing allowance. Now, I'll just go ahead to connect my pattern starting from the waist to the upper part and from the waist to the lower part. So for the back pattern, I'm just going to leave it basic this way, unless you want to have like a design at the hemline. So I didn't get to see the back of the dress, so I'm just leaving it this way. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please kindly hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, leave your comment at the comment section.